There's something I would like to share with you that I think is really important and something you want to pay attention to right now because it's very pertinent to what's going on in the world. And that is, a number of years ago, I was coaching the top 5 executives, the top 5 bosses of Kuwaiti Petroleum, because there's 5 different branches within Kuwaiti Petroleum, and I was coaching the top boss of each one of those branches. And just so you know, Kuwaiti Petroleum employs 97% of the entire population of the country of Kuwait. And I got to coach these gentlemen for a number of months. And because of that, I got to interview each one of them individually. And I was asking them about what did they do during the Kuwait War, when the Iraqis invaded Kuwait. And that's, by the way, what started the Desert Storm War, right? And so I asked them about it. What did they do? And each one of them individually said that they stayed within their neighborhood. Now, they had plenty of money. They could have flown out of the country. They could have evaded. They could have done all those things. But instead, they said that, as a community, they had to work together so that everybody could survive, so that everybody could have food. And so they started working together in cooperation with each other. And so this way, they made sure everybody had food, everybody had shelter, everybody had a sense of peace, because they functioned more as a team than as a bunch of individuals. And I find it very profound. See, because one of my sayings that I've been saying for years is that only amateurs compete, professionals create. And if you look at the world these days, it's been based in competition. And I don't know if you just saw the news that just came out, is that there's 85 families that are wealthier than all of 7 billion people on the planet combined. That there's 85 families that have more money than all the rest of the 7 billion people on the planet. And that's what competition has created, where there's a small group of the haves and there's a bunch of people who are the have-nots. And I saw one of I'd like to call him an idiot, off the Shark Tank program. I didn't want to mention his name because I don't want to make him famous. But I just saw an interview with him where he said, when they talked to him about the 85 people having all the wealth and the rest of the people suffering, and he thought that was awesome because he said, well, that's great inspiration. And, the interviewer said look, there's people who $1, to buy a loaf of bread is a struggle right now, and you think that's good? You think those people, are dreaming about being a Bill Gates, like that's inspiring to them? Well, honestly, they're not, right? And I don't buy into that either. So we need to quit going into competition, and we need to go into cooperation, to start functioning as a team, to start functioning as a community again, to help each other out, to help each other, with food, and making money, and just moral support and the rest of those things. Because as you see right now, the problems that we're facing, the economy and everything else, man, they're going to be able to pick us off easily if we don't function as a group. And one of the other things that you're seeing is all these reports of whistleblowers coming out about UFOs and aliens and the rest of those things. Now, whether or not you believe that, right? Now, I just want to check in with you on something for a second, is you got to remember during World War II, nobody thought that Hitler would do what he did either, that he would murder 8 million plus people in a very short amount of time. And he would, mass graves and gas people and, firing squads after he made people dig big pits, and he'd have them all line up in the pits like sardines and shoot them all. Nobody thought that was going to happen either. And by the way, there was even Jewish people that were collaborators with the Nazis, thinking for themselves so they could prosper when they were killing their own people, so to speak. So what you think can't happen can. And so my point being is that what we're seeing right now. So if there is aliens, I mean, man, we might want to group together as human beings, because we got something outside of ourselves that could take us off the planet. And we're going to act as a bunch of individuals. And if you think that there's not human collaborators who would sell us out for their own good, that will happen. But even in what's happening in government and what's happening in businesses and buying governments, and you see there's a lot of different parts of the government right now that certainly looks like it's compromised, that they've been bribed. Now, I'm not getting into the whole subject of that. What I'm talking about is us as people. With prices going up and costs going up, and the inflation was caused by governments printing up more money to give people money for COVID, which, by the way, the COVID stuff, as you can see, where that's coming from now, it's all coming out. So I'm not a conspiracy theory. All you can do is watch the paper trail. But this part of the stuff that I'm talking about, that's not the important part. The important part is that the inflation that's on right now is because governments printed up money to hand off to people during the COVID times, right? And now, because of massive inflation, they're rapidly and consistently raising interest rates, food prices going up, fuel prices going up, cost of living going up. More people are being made homeless than ever before, and we're at the tip of the iceberg. And man, if you think the evil people aren't organizing themselves to get together to start to prey on more people, that's not accurate. You got to look at gangs. They're organizing. So as decent people, we got to organize. We got to have connection with each other. We got to cooperate with each other. We got to function again as a community to help everybody prosper. And that's the only way we're going to turn this around, is through cooperation. Stop the competition and go to cooperation. Think about that for a moment. When I was a kid, man, communities took care of each other. My grandfather, he would help people whose houses burned, and had bad damage, and he did construction and carpentry and stuff. And a lot of times at the end of it, people would say, he'd finish the whole project for him, and they say, but I don't have any money to pay you. And my grandfather said, make me dinner, because he gave back. And I remember my grandfather remodeling a church that had a fire in it and didn't charge him anything, right? So, because he functioned as a community and people gave to each other. And so those people that my grandfather would help, they'd come over with baked goods, and they would come over with, bread that they would make, and they would come over certainly with dinner and things like that, because that's what happened. But we've turned into this segregated society. We're all separate. And I tell you, it's easy to pick off people, and break them down. And, it comes down to what Charles Darwin said. He said, it's not the strongest of the species that will survive, nor the most intelligent. It's the ones who are most able to adapt. Now, I want you to think about that for a second. Not adapt into being a stronger person, because it's not the stronger that will survive. Because, by the way, there's always going to be someone or something that's stronger. So remember when you were a kid, you saw the pictures of a little fish, and there was a bigger fish eating the smaller fish, and a bigger one eating that one, and a bigger one eating that one. That's what that's all about. But if we learn how to adapt, to cooperate with each other, and function as a community and help each other out, we all will prosper. We'll all win. And that should be the new world order. We can change the world. I mean, if this is what people are referring to as Armageddon, well, maybe it's not the end of the world as far as mankind goes. Maybe it's the end of the world as we used to know it. And instead of being fire and brimstone and being something negative, it can be something wonderful. It can be the new planet, the new world, the new we cooperate. Because if you look throughout history, this has happened before, where the haves and the have-nots, and the separation, and governments being out of control, and the rest of those things. It's happened, and then we brought the world to a better place. It's always going to happen. It's going to be an ebb flow, but yet, for right now, if you want to leave a planet for your children to have, to not be slaves, to not suffer, or that there's even a planet here, well, then we have to do something right now. And that goes into cooperation. And we got to end the competition. As you know, I'm a dad. I have a beautiful boy that's my life. I don't want to leave him in a planet the way it's going. This is not what I brought him into the world for. I brought him into the world so he can have a great life. Isn't that why you brought your kids in? So they can have the best life possible? Well, let's all bond together and function as a team again and help make this place better. And by the way, we get strong at that level because you got to remember, and I'm not blaming those people, those 85 families who got all the money, but man, they're definitely pulling the strings. And they got so much money now, they pretty much figured out they could buy anything they want, including politicians and laws being made and all those things. And if you think that's not happening, you might want to get your head out of the sand. Well, there's only 85 families of those, and we got billions of us, and we get together and we start cooperating with each other. We can turn this place around. Makes sense, right? I hope this is of value. And, I have a new program coming up where I'm going to teach you how to succeed in your business. And the main purpose, it's not a big sales event. The main purpose of it is so that, you can learn how to succeed and get strong so we can all be stronger, yet we still need to cooperate with each other. I'll give you information about it. That's not what this video is about. But that's my whole driving force. By the way, I don't live some big opulent life. I live a very normal life by most people's standards. And what I do with the money I create is to help other people become strong, to be out there and deliver the message to people, to help them cooperate with each other. That's what I do. Be a part of it. Be a part of the change. Buddha said, be the change that you want to have happen. I hope this was of value. I hope this sinks in. Contact me. Send me an email. Send me a message. Whatever it is, what can I do to help? But I'm going to ask you, if you ask for help from me, I'm going to ask you to pass it on to somebody else and start working together with your neighborhood, with your society, with your community, with your country, and let's cooperating. What can we give into the center? I mean, if you want out, you have to give into the center. It's the law of circulation. Make sense? You're going to be getting a lot more messages from me, a lot more videos, a lot more training, a lot more help, a lot more organization of all this. Let's get together. God bless and have a most outstanding day.